You can't give us some financial support. Okay, please, give us a credit, and we will give you back money after the war.
Vladimir Zelensky is a walking grift machine, and the U.S. government is stupid enough to continue to fall for his shtick. Do you remember a little while back when everyone was rightly up in arms over the Biden regime sending gobs of tax dollars to Ukraine to pay for their pensions, while nowhere near enough money was provided to pensioners here in the United States? Well, it turns out that's just the tip of the iceberg. You see, Joe Biden here, or whoever was really running his so-called presidency, also gave $40 billion to Ukrainian farmers in 2021. Both he and now the Trump administration continued sending loads of U.S. tax dollars to Ukrainian pensioners and farmers and workers for the last several years, at a time when America's vital small and medium-sized farms are going bankrupt at record levels. We've spoken to you before about the plight of American rancher and RFK Jr.'s ranch advisor, Brian Mussard, being unable to get a loan to keep his ranch going, even as the government sends tens of billions of dollars of our tax dollars, hard-earned cash, to Zelensky. Money that you and I will never see any return on, by the way. We're now joined by Steve Jarvis. He's a fifth-generation regenerative farmer in this great state of Idaho and the owner of the online farm school, SAS-USA.com. Steve, it's good to see you. Now, we knew that the Biden regime had sent tons of money to Ukraine, or earmarked it, allocated it, via Congress to go to Ukraine. But we didn't know before that the $40 billion went specifically to Ukrainian farmers, correct?
Yeah, well, the farmer program is actually a PTSD program. So I guess you got to go to the front lines and get the junk shot out of you. And then the farming program is for agriculture and for farmers who have PTSD. So if you live through the front lines between Russia and Ukraine, I guess you get money to farm there in Ukraine. Now, $40 billion, and it says in this paper that I sent you, in this paper, it says that it's $40 billion ongoing. And I was in a meeting in D.C. A few weeks back. I was not there just to meet Brooke Rollins yesterday, but I was there a few weeks back, and there were some guys in the room, and these guys were talking about this $40 billion that's going to Ukraine. And this is under the President Trump's administration. And it's insane that Brian Mussard, the rancher that we're trying to save, who is RFK's advisor, and a new name on the game is Charles Herbster. And Charles Herbster is President Trump's personal advisor on agriculture. And luckily, Brian, he gave the same papers that you have. He was given to Charles Herbster, who is Trump's personal advisor. He had no idea that there's $40 billion a year going to Ukrainian farmers who have PTSD, or maybe they'd never have farmed. Maybe they just have PTSD and they go into an agricultural program. Why are we giving $40 billion when we're losing 17,000 farms a year? We've lost 85,000 farms since this thing was enacted, and we're losing this game. Why is President Trump doing this? And he doesn't even know. His personal ag advisor doesn't know. And Brian Mussard met with Brooke Rollins, and Brooke Rollins didn't even know. Why is the USDA giving money to farmers, and our farmers can't even get loans?
So, okay, Secretary Rollins said she didn't know.
She doesn't know.
But, okay, somebody had to know, Steve. At least the ag committees in the House and Senate, right, would have known that Biden was sending that money for Ukrainian farmers. Shouldn't they have stopped him 4 years ago?
Well, 100%, and because we lost 17,000 farms right then. At that time, why wouldn't they put the $40 billion into USDA as emergency loans? This is what needs to happen today. President Trump, Brooke Rollins, I mean, they need to get on this. Not yesterday. Day before yesterday is when they needed to do this. They need to get this done, because our farms and agriculture is taking a beating, and shipping is killing me as a farmer. I mean, it's insane.
How did Brooke Rollins respond? Did she say that they're going to immediately address the situation? She didn't know, so we're going to give her, credit for not knowing. But what did she say? How are they going to act now that she's been made aware, she's been given this information? What are they going to do?
I don't know.
Oh.
I mean, I don't know.
We're to wait and see.
I will say that the ranchers that went to D.C., I wasn't invited, and they were talking about some things that that doesn't pertain to my type of farming. But I did write a farm plan to create 1 million new 40-acre farms. I'm surprised she should have my farm plan. RFK has it. I know he sent it over to her. But the thing about it is, they say she's on our side. Even the ranchers that went said that Brooke Rollins is on our side and she's for us. Well, we're going to see. We're going to see in the next few weeks. Is she?
This is maybe a question for Congressman Massie, who's actually going to join us next because he himself is a farmer. And he's a member of Congress. If that money was allocated and still going, can it be repurposed? I know Trump just did a major pocket rescission that pulled back, I think $4.9 billion in foreign aid, right? So they are addressing some of that. I wonder, could Congress not then repurpose that, stop the money flow from going to Ukraine, and then in some way repurpose it to go to American farmers?
That's exactly right. And what they need to do, and just so you know, Brian and I, we are starting a new consulting part to consult the federal government, because Brian, who's the rancher, who's RFK's advisor, just flew to D.C. on his dime. I just messaged him just a few minutes ago. I said, Brian, did you get any money for this trip? And Brian Massard, neither have I. We're not on the payroll. We have a plan to save this nation and save agriculture. And he could repurpose this money. What he could do is do emergency loans through FSA, and these ranchers that are existing. I mean, some of these are 30 years old ranchers and farmers, and they're going out of business. I want to save those too. And they could do a 3% emergency loan and guarantee the loan. And the banks, the small banks, it's not the small banks' faults that they're not doing these loans. It is the Federal Reserve, and the Federal Reserve is killing the small bank where they can't loan the money. And President Trump needs to do something about it, by 1 today.
By 1 o'clock today. That's in a matter of minutes.
I want him to. Do something. Why are we putting people's houses out on fire overseas when our own house is burning to the ground?
Absolutely. We actually had Brian Massard join us last week, and he told us a little bit about his ranch and the plight that he's in. But he's one of many farmers who are in that predicament. And I know that the president is meeting with tech CEOs at the White House tonight. He's hosting them in the Rose Garden. I would love to see him do the same for the American farmers and ranchers and listen to what they're going through and address the situation. Secretary Rollins is now aware. She has the information. And if they do not act now, then that's a problem. But how long should we give them? How long should we wait to see a statement from Secretary Rollins?
Well, I'm going to give them about 15 days. Then I'm going to start throwing people under the bus.
All right. So we'll give it a couple of weeks, Steve Jarvis. This is huge. I did not, you flagged this for us. I was not aware that much of money had literally went to they're taking care of Ukrainian vets, right, to become farmers. Yeah. But not taking care of our own farmers to the tune of $40 billion of that money still be set over that way. Steve Jarvis, we have this on our radar. We'll watch what the Agriculture Department does under Secretary Rollins. We'll see if President Trump is made aware of it, and then we'll continue to cover this. It's a very serious situation. It's also national security because we need our farmers for our own national security and our food supply. Thank you so much, Steve Jarvis, for bringing this breaking news to the absolute truth. And speaking of Congressman Tom Massie, he was part of that explosive press conference on the Hill yesterday that Allison Steinberg covered for us. He joins us after the break, so stick with us.
Welcome to Vocal, the free speech social app that gives you a platform to amplify your voice. Speak freely, connect boldly, and be part of a growing movement for truth, faith, and freedom. Want to know what's happening right now? The Now Playing feature shows you exactly who's live and what's streaming in real time. Check out the show's feed, a non-stop lineup including Lindell TV News 24/7, shows and on-demand programming all in one place. Connect with your favorite host and never miss a show. Explore the featured page for quick access to Lindell TV's top shows. Follow your favorites and watch their newest content flow right into your feed. And when they go live on Vocal, you can join the live chat and be part of the action. Ask questions, share your thoughts, even help shape future shows. Stay informed on issues around securing our elections by following your state's Cause of America account. Join a group and connect on a deeper level, from faith and freedom to the future of our nation. Go to vocal.com or download the app today and be a part of the mission to save our country.
Whether it's being a weekend warrior or spending time with your family, feeling your best is the key to doing the things you love. That's why I'm excited to tell you about Nirvanta. It's a natural solution designed to help you stay active and live well naturally. Nirvanta is a topical blend of all natural essential oils like frankincense, myrrh, and a proprietary gold standard plant stock extract. It's perfect for your hands, feet, knees, back, or anywhere else that needs a little extra care. Use Nirvanta proactively as part of your daily maintenance routine, and you're guaranteed you're going to feel the difference. Simply massage Nirvanta in for at least 60 seconds, 2 to 3 times a day to get the best results. And if you're not completely satisfied, you get your money back. No questions asked. There's simply no risk and no reason not to try Nirvanta today. Right now, you get 15% off with code Lindell exclusively at nirvantahealth.com. So stop reaching out for that medicine cabinet. Get Nirvanta instead and experience the difference. Go to nirvantahealth.com. Use code Lindell to get 15% off today. Nirvanta Health. Live well naturally.
I do have to ask, and I know, and it's just something that I think we're compelled to at this moment, with the attention on President Trump, with these questions around a pardon. Did anybody see or hear of the president himself doing anything inappropriate as it related to Jeffrey Epstein?
No. The Epstein files continue to plague the president, even though has not been implicated in them. Is he just trying to protect Israel, perhaps? And why has he done a 180 on backing their release to now calling it a Democrat hoax? Here's our very own DC correspondent, Allison Steinberg, who was on the Hill, where victims made a very public appeal for full transparency related to Jeffrey Epstein and his ties to the global elites.
After a month off of work for August recess, Congress is finally back in session, and they're wasting no time when it comes to the long-awaited release of the Epstein files. Tuesday night, the House Oversight Committee released 33,295 pages of Epstein-related records that were provided by the U.S. Department of Justice. This comes after Chairman Comer issued a subpoena for records related to Jeffrey Epstein back on August 5th. The Department of Justice indicated it will continue producing those records while ensuring the redaction of victim identities and any child sexual abuse material is done. But that's not sufficient for the victims of Jeffrey Epstein, nor is it sufficient for Republican Congressman Thomas Massie, who is now co-sponsoring a bill with Democrat Congressman Ro Khanna, which would force a release of the Epstein files in their entirety. Massie expressed concern over the DOJ and the idea that they can't be trusted to release all relevant information without legislation forcing the agency's hand. He stated, quote, "What's clear is they're not redacting just to protect victims, they're redacting to protect reputations. Some of those people are probably innocent, but some of them are most certainly guilty," end quote. As of now, all Democrats are expected to vote in favor of this legislation, but 6 Republican votes are needed for a total of 218 representatives total to force the vote. The 4 Republican members of Congress currently in support of this resolution include Thomas Massie, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Lauren Boebert, and Nancy Mace. So ultimately, all Democrats, and again, only 4 Republicans, are in favor of forcing a floor vote on legislation which would require the DOJ to release all of its files on the investigation into Epstein and his longtime associate, Ghislaine Maxwell. At a press conference held Wednesday morning, I asked Congressman Massie why he thinks Republicans are refusing to get on board and support this legislation. Here's what he had to say. Are there any 2 Republicans that you might know about who are on the fence on this, and why are Republicans so apprehensive to just move forward?
Yeah, they've been threatened by the White House which has done a 180. The lawyer here said he would like for the president to go back to his position 9 years ago. I'd like him just to go back 9 months ago to his position.
This press conference, which was incredibly large, hundreds of people were in attendance in support of releasing the files, revealed substantial information pertaining to what the Epstein victims endured and what they wish to accomplish by speaking out.
Several of us Epstein survivors have been discussing creating our own list of names. Now, together as survivors, we will confidentially compile the names we all know were regularly in the Epstein world. And it will be done by survivors and for survivors.
A handful of Epstein's victims gathered at the steps of the Capitol to speak out and share their story, some of whom spoke publicly for the first time ever. Many of them, terrified for their lives, have finally come forward, breaking their silence, and are demanding accountability for everyone involved.
Why was Maxwell the only one held accountable when so many others played a role? Why does the government hide this information from the public?
We are here demanding accountability, and I'm demanding justice. Congress must choose. Will you continue to protect predators, or will you finally protect survivors?
Despite the horrors of what these women endured, the mental and physical abuse, the trafficking, the threats on their lives, most showed up with the same message.
Whether you are a Democrat or a Republican, this does not matter. This is not about sides. You are an American, and you are a person who has chosen to serve in an elected position to stand up for those you represent who cannot always stand up for themselves.
This is not a partisan issue. This is about mental and physical abuse and a corrupt cabal of elites who not only allowed this to happen, but also covered it up for years. We must ask, why were Epstein's victims never able to testify after the initial investigation? Why are wealthy, powerful elites protected while the real victims have been forced to suffer in silence? Are these women victims of a lone predator, or are they victims of a high-level intelligence operation that spans across multiple powerful people and corrupt governments?
Mr. Edwards, is there any evidence that Jeffrey Epstein was involved with or tied to the CIA or a foreign intelligence operation?
I think that the safest thing for me to say is all files should come out, whether it is with the CIA, FinCEN, SEC, FBI. I'm not just making these up haphazardly. I'm giving you a roadmap where to look.
Will we ever find out who those powerful people are? Well, I guess there's really only one solution here. Release the files in their entirety. The victims deserve answers, the American people deserve answers, and it's far past time for the truth to come out regardless of who this may implicate. Reporting for Lindell TV, I'm Allison Steinberg.
Thank you for that, Allison Steinberg. And Congressman Thomas Massie of Kentucky joins us now for more on this very important issue. Congressman, it's good to see you.
Good to see you, Emerald. It was good to see Allison yesterday, too. That was a very good summary. And I know that you've been on top of this issue longer than anybody else. In fact, you were the one who got me to pay closer attention a few years ago.
Why is it that Trump has done a 180 on this? I know this is speculation on your part, but having known him, this is not the first time you found yourself at odds with the president, but you don't often do. Why has he changed his position?
You know, I thought I was supporting the administration's position because initially, because Attorney General Bondi, the Vice President, J.D. Vance, the FBI Director, Kash Patel, even Trump's children, all said that we should release these files. So I think it's the president who finds himself at odds with me and with his base, because 80% of his base supports the release of these files. And frankly, the other 20% haven't really looked into the issue enough to know about it.
Not only are you now at odds with the president and his White House over what was initially their position, as you noted. I mean, Pam Bondi made multiple public statements. She was on Fox News almost every day promising the release and saying there were stacks of papers on her desk. But now the Trump White House is basically backed a super PAC to remove you from office. And it's apparently funded by prominent Jewish funders in the GOP. I guess I'll ask you, why would Miriam Adelson and Paul Singer donate millions of dollars to try to oust you? They try to say it's about voting against the big, beautiful bill. Is it perhaps related to the Epstein files?
Well, Miriam Adelson and Paul Singer, I don't know if they have a connection to Epstein, but the third billionaire, John Paulson, is in Epstein's Black Book. Now, the Black Book isn't the Epstein list. That's just a list of people that Epstein knew and knew their phone numbers and thought it was helpful to keep them handy. So one of the billionaires who's running millions of dollars of ads against me in Kentucky 8 months before even my primary election is in Epstein's Black Book. I think there's some motivation there, but the one thing that all three of these billionaire donors have in common is that they're upset that I don't vote for foreign aid to Israel and that I've opposed Israel's war in Gaza, and they want complete compliance with AIPAC's positions here in Congress. I also don't allow AIPAC in my office. For several years I haven't, once they started attacking me. And I never did attack them in the beginning. I just didn't vote for foreign aid. I had a consistent policy. I didn't have any special policy for Israel. I've opposed all the wars in the Middle East. I've opposed wasting our money, our tax dollars. And I'm ethically opposed, morally opposed to the war that's going on in Gaza right now. But that's consistent with my position for any foreign country.
Allison asked during the press conference yesterday of one of the attorneys if Jeffrey Epstein is tied to either our own intelligence or foreign intelligence. That's the question everyone has asked. Pam Bondi was asked that during a cabinet meeting recently where she said she didn't have evidence of that, essentially. You've seen a little bit, Congressman Massie. Is there evidence pointing towards Epstein being a foreign asset of perhaps, say, Israel or one of our own assets? What do you believe?
I believe he was an asset of our intelligence and of Israel's intelligence. Sometimes it's hard to tell the difference between the two, but you played a segment of the press conference yesterday where I think if you read between the lines and listen to Mr. Edwards, the attorney for the survivors, he gave us a roadmap of where to look and suggested that we should be looking at the CIA, that they probably have some documents or may have some documents that are relevant to this. So that gives me more of a roadmap. Hopefully, James Comer, the chairman of the Oversight Committee, will subpoena that information as well from the CIA. And then we also have in the court records, I know you know this, from when Acosta gave the sweetheart deal or was part of the sweetheart deal, he was the prosecutor at the time, gave the sweetheart deal to Epstein. In the court documents, you can see that he says that it's above his pay grade, that government intelligence was involved, that Epstein was involved with government intelligence, and that may be the reason why he got a lighter sentence. And by the way, when he got the lighter sentence, he was able to recommit all of the sexual abuse crimes for hundreds of victims, as we know.
I actually was there on the South Lawn the day that President Trump in the first term gave Alex Acosta his send-off after that DOJ press conference where he was asked about the Epstein files. I remember that very well. You're not the only Republican member of Congress fighting for this. You're joined by Marjorie Taylor Greene of Georgia, and you've said that you and Greene are, quote, willing to name names in the House of Representatives under constitutional speech or debate immunity, unquote, regarding Jeffrey Epstein's clients. So tell us more about what you're doing in that vein.
Well, one of the organic things that came out of the conference yesterday, I think it was a really positive development, is we heard the survivors announce that they were going to be compiling their own list of people who were part of this sex trafficking ring because they know some of the names, obviously. Now, the question was asked at the press conference, why wouldn't you release those names when you compile them? And I think their answer was spot on. Number one, the DOJ has all these names. It's actually the government's job to enforce the criminal laws. It's not the survivor's job to do that. And so the government should be doing that anyway, because anybody who does bring those charges out into light or into the public is going to be subject to retribution. Now, the government has the power of the gun, there's not going to be retribution toward the government. But if you're a survivor of Jeffrey Epstein or one of his associates who committed sexual abuse on you, they've got lots of money. They're obviously politically connected, well connected. They're powerful men. And the first thing they're going to do is file defamation suits against the victims, especially if they're guilty. They'll probably do that. And they sue these defendants, well, they'll become the defendants now, sue them into oblivion. So they have, they're very reluctant to release the list. At that point, it was Marjorie Taylor Greene who conceived of this idea before I did, although I'm happy to do it as well. And Marjorie and I have talked about it since then. Marjorie stepped up to the podium and said that she would read the list if they compiled one and gave it to her in the House of Representatives. And if you've ever noticed, no member of Congress has ever been sued for defamation or prosecuted for releasing confidential or classified information in the House of Representatives, because the Constitution gives us what's called speech or debate immunity. The Founding Fathers decided that on the balance, it was better to err on too much free speech when congressmen were debating issues of the day in the halls of Congress, because they had seen the King of England prosecute civilly and criminally members of Parliament simply for things that they said in Parliament. So I think it's a really good clause. I know people don't want congressmen to be above the law, but on this aspect of it, the Founding Fathers put it in the Constitution because they thought it was so important that we not be prosecuted. So Marjorie's willing to do that. I'm willing to do that as well. It would be one way to get those names out there.
Real quick, this is just breaking as we're speaking. O'Keefe Media Group, James O'Keefe has released a video, one of his undercover videos of a DOJ official. I don't want to go too deep into it because I haven't gotten to look at it much. It was flagged for me by my team, suggesting that some people's names, particularly Republicans, could be redacted. Are you concerned that some people will be protected?
Oh, absolutely. And by the way, James O'Keefe was in my office this morning and showed me that video.
So you know more about it than me.
Yes. He actually gave me a little peek of it a few weeks ago and let me know that he was working on it. It's a mid-high level DOJ employee who's been there for probably 20 years talking to somebody undercover. He doesn't know he's being recorded, saying that there are lots of files, they're redacted. He goes on to say in that video that James O'Keefe just released just now, that the light treatment, the transfer of Ghislaine Maxwell to that minimum security facility that she's in is, I don't know his exact words, but effectively unprecedented and should have never happened under DOJ policy without some major exception. So I think that's as groundbreaking as the admission that there are actual files at the DOJ that they're going to redact. We've already seen them redacting these files that they gave to the Oversight Committee. The Oversight Committee, the day I was able to start collecting signatures, they did this big data dump. I think it's analogous to the binders that Pam Bondi released, in that people, when they sort through it, are going to find out it's stuff they already had, or the stuff they're interested in is too redacted to be useful for the victims and survivors of Jeffrey Epstein and his associates. So it's an interesting video that James O'Keefe put out there. You should watch it. It's just one more piece of evidence in a mountain of evidence that there were associates of Jeffrey Epstein who've not been indicted and not been criminally charged and need to be, and that they are giving Ghislaine Maxwell special treatment to get her to say certain things, or to keep saying things, keep from saying things. Sorry.
Exactly. We have about 30 seconds, and as you noted at the top, you asked for the Epstein files to be released back in February 2024, actually in a reply to one of my tweets regarding how Congress was blackmailed. But people keep saying you're just now bringing it up now that Trump's in office. Can you just What do you have to say to that? Because that's the biggest criticism I see when you're trying to talk about this. That's what they're saying of you. We only have 30 seconds.
Well, I'm thankful you pressed me on that issue during the Biden administration, because now that tweet exists. And that was my sentiment at the time. And you asked me what my sentiment was. Look, this has been a concern of mine all this time. I did not think it was politically feasible to do a discharge petition until just recently. Look, the Democrats weren't going to sign it under Biden. And by the way, I thought that Trump was going to release all this stuff when he got elected anyway. None of that's happened. It is possible to get 218 signatures on the discharge petition. We're going to get to that number. We will get to that number. Mike Johnson needs to be preparing, and he's already trying to give fig leaves to my colleagues, but he needs to be preparing to have that vote where the American people are going to decide, are you on the side of the victims, of justice and in transparency? Or are you going to be bullied by this president who's trying to protect intelligence services and rich and powerful men who are politically connected donors?
Congressman Thomas Massie, thank you so much for joining us today. It's good to see you.
Thanks, Emerald.
Up next, the fraud becomes more apparent still in Georgia. We go down to Georgia with Philip Davis after this break.
Let's face it, you can't trust Big Pharma. They've already tried to block ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, and raise prices on everything from antibiotics to your daily meds. Well, there's good news. All Family Pharmacy is standing up for medical freedom and helping people get the treatments they actually want. My family and I use them all the time. They made it easy and affordable without the runaround. While other pharmacies are jacking up prices, they've actually dropped theirs. Ivermectin now starts at just $2 a capsule. Use my promo code Lindell10, you get an extra 10% off of that. You need ivermectin, antibiotics, or methylene blue, you name it, they've got it. They make it simple. You fill out a short online form, a licensed doctor reviews it, and your meds ship fast right to your front door. If you want to be prepared and have your medications on hand, this is your new pharmacy. Visit allfamilypharmacy.com/Lindell. Promo code Lindell10 saves you even more. That's allfamilypharmacy.com/Lindell. Promo code Lindell10.
Welcome to Vocal, the free speech social app that gives you a platform to amplify your voice. Speak freely, connect boldly, and be part of a growing movement for truth, faith, and freedom. Want to know what's happening right now? The Now Playing feature shows you exactly who's live and what's streaming in real time. Check out the show's feed, a non-stop lineup including Lindell TV News 24/7, shows and on-demand programming all in one place. Connect with your favorite host and never miss a show. Explore the featured page for quick access to Lindell TV's top shows. Follow your favorites and watch their newest content flow right into your feed. And when they go live on Vocal, you can join the live chat and be part of the action. Ask questions, share your thoughts, even help shape future shows. Stay informed on issues around securing our elections by following your state's Cause of America account. Join a group and connect on a deeper level, from faith and freedom to the future of our nation. Go to vocal.com or download the app today and be a part of the mission to save our country.
Here's a fun little fact. Our elections are still being rigged. That's according to our next guest, Mr. Philip Davis. He's an election integrity expert with a deep understanding of how the election software works on various voting machines. In this video playing on the screen, Davis is showing a group of stunned observers how he can, using an unprotected SQLite database on Dominion's ICX voting machines, to literally manipulate or hack ballots. What's worse is what Davis has shown that these voting machines are used in at least 15 states. With the pivotal 2026 midterms just around the corner, it seems to us, here are the absolute truth, that the Trump administration might want to take more decisive action against these machines very soon. We know President Trump has a plan. I think it's time to implement it. And as you can see from this map, Michigan and Georgia are among the states that use this system for their elections. And speaking of Georgia, our friends in the Democrat-controlled Fulton County Board of Elections, as we mentioned yesterday to you, are now defying a Georgia Supreme Court, the few Republicans who have been appointed on the Fulton County Board of Elections. That's Julie Allen, and Jason Frazier. And the board just voted yesterday, the Board of Commissioners, to continue to defy that court order until another appellate court. Here's the latest petition to block seating these two Republican patriots. That sounds kind of insurrection-y to me, doesn't it, you? I'm now joined by Philip Davis himself. He's an election integrity expert as well as a computer software expert to walk us through what he knows about these machines. And Philip, just to clarify, it's good to see you, by the way. It's been a little while.
Nice to see you too.
That talk you gave, that explainer that I mentioned in the open, was actually given at DEF CON, right? It's the hacking convention in Las Vegas where they have a voting village. And we've seen such names as Harry Hersey present there. And I believe J. Alex Halderman has frequented there as well. So you showed these hackers how the machines really work or don't work or can be manipulated. Better to say, I guess, Philip. You know, what can you say?
Well, the funny thing is I've never seen a voting machine before. These Dominion machines, I'm in Florida. I never used one, but I just kind of accidentally hacked it because it was almost too easy. I was actually complaining to the people who wanted me to go to DEF CON that this is not really a hack. It's using the software as it was designed. And so it was almost embarrassing for me to demonstrate this because it was just so easy. It was just kind of this wide open door that was left open. Now, before I go too much in this, I do want to state that I've not seen any evidence that this hack was created. It's just basically a wide open door that I found.
Okay, so I actually want to show a video of you, okay? Mm-hmm. And you talked about how easy it was. I want to show this clip of you explaining how the ballots can be, I won't say can be, hacked. Let's watch.
Thank you.
So basically what we've done is we hacked what you wanted to do. Your intent is not here.
Explain that a little bit more, Philip.
Sure, absolutely. I have here basically a ballot, and this is what will be created when you're on one of these voting machines. When you are voting, you don't vote for a person, you vote for a position. So in the side of this barcode that's here, there's not people's names in it. You don't see Trump, you don't see Biden. All you're seeing here is I voted for person 1, I voted for person 2. That's all that's in those barcodes. So the hack basically is this. There is a database sitting on the ICX machine that can be accessed. The Haldeman report states that if you put in a technician CAC card key into the machine, it will take you to the operating system and you can access this database. You can think about a database as just a series of Excel spreadsheets. Inside of this database is a list of what do you want to display on the screen. Who do you want to display? How do you want to display it? What format do you want to do it? And basically, it's how you design the screen. Who's going to show up on the screen? And more importantly, who is person 1 and who is person 2? So having access to this database, I can modify it. I can change who person 1 and person 2 is. So not only can I take these people and change the descriptions of these people, I can change the order of these people as well. So if you're thinking that you're going to be voting for the Republican on this ballot, I got a little short. If you think you're voting for the Republican on this ballot, what happens if I swap the names and I change person 1 and person 2 position in this database? Everyone that thinks they're voting for the Democrats actually voting for the Republican and vice versa. And there's no detection of it because not only is it the display screen that I can edit, I can also display and edit the text on the ballot as well. So this information here comes from a database saying person 1 is this text, but that text is modifiable very easily. And so I'm able to actually swap your votes before you can vote on them.
This is very concerning, and I'm going to give a little nugget. It hasn't happened yet, but I think that Senator Marjorie Taylor Greene is going to ask that the DOJ, Congresswoman. There's a lot going on right now. There's a lot of breaking news. So if you see me looking down, I'm literally getting this stuff in as we're live right now. I think Congressman Marjorie Taylor Greene may be asking for some action from the DOJ or some investigation into Georgia. Could the DOJ come in and investigate these machines and look at what you found? Because they're actively being used in Georgia.
That's right. Right. And in the 2020 election specifically, I was able to find over 4,400 ballots, double scanned and double counted in Fulton County alone. In Muskogee County, they were short on their recounts. So what did they do? They took old ballots, scrambled them together and shuffled them, and then rescanned them as brand new just to get the ballot numbers to match. There is test ballots, almost a possible of 1,000 test ballots added to Fulton County because they were short on ballots. We found over 7 counties that fudged their recount in the 2020 election. So absolutely, there was more than enough to look at. And in the 2024 election, I finally finished Georgia after our last discussion. 105,000 ballots were taken out of the tabulators and rescanned a second time with no history or explanation of why these ballots had to be rescanned. Some of them happening 3 weeks before the election, and some of these ballots rescanned 2.5 weeks after the election, which is very suspicious.
That is very suspicious. No wonder they don't want to seat Julie and Jason Frazier right in Fulton County on the Board of Elections, though it's been settled in the courts. It's just it's law that they do so, but they're fighting tooth and nail not to put these 2 Republican board members in place. And when you listen to Philip Davis here, you know exactly why. I also, in just a moment, when we wrap up this segment, I have some more breaking news that is just dropping within the last hour. And Sheriff Darleaf has released some emails related to a Dominion case that have been provided to him in discovery. But these emails are very damning in that they show Serbian and Chinese communications as it relates to the firmware in the machine. So before I get into that, because you're a computer software expert, Philip, can you explain how troubling it would be and what they are trying to do in these emails? And we're going to break this down more tomorrow, and I'm going to share this again right after we get by this. But if they're trying to mislabel the product coming out of China so it doesn't look like it's coming out of China, and they're dealing specifically with the firmware, how troubling is it that China, particularly China, but also Serbia, would be involved with the firmware in our voting equipment?
Oh, absolutely. Remember, these machines that we're using are just off-the-shelf tabulators. You'll see the same kind of kiosk at a McDonald's. They've just been repurposed for this purpose, for voting. The only real security on them is that they added a CAT card reader, so you have to slide in a little card with a mem chip on them. So that is really the only security, is a physical security. So if someone can get around that physical security, either through a connection, an internet connection from Serbia or any other country, they have full access to the system. The passwords are in this. Remember the database I just mentioned? The encryption keys, the AES encryption keys, are just in plain text sitting in this database. The HMAC keys, the ones they use to sign the barcodes to prove that they haven't been altered, is just a value in plain text in these databases. So if you're able to access these machines, you can create your own barcodes. You can alter the data and re-sign it as if it was original because of the algorithm that they used.
So what I'm hearing from you is that these machines, with what these emails reveal about the firmware, none of them are certifiable. They are not certifiable. If that's the case.
If that's the case, absolutely.
Okay. Philip Davis has been very enlightening, even for us technically, we're lay people. I would encourage people to go to your X and see what you're putting out there right now. Is you found so much more information related to Georgia and Fulton County, and that was a very informative talk you gave at the Voting Village. I watched it,
Thank you very much.
I know these things, but it was. I'm glad you did that, Philip. I'm so glad you went and did that. I think that was very important. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
See you soon.
Bye.
And as I said, breaking news, Sheriff Darleaf has released this letter on his X account in the last hour. We'll get that pulled up for you in just a moment. It includes, if you scroll down, I'm just giving you a primer here, and I'm going to go more in depth on this tomorrow because this is huge, okay? It involves emails. If you scroll down in this X post, there are emails that confirm that the Chinese and the Serbians are in our machines. Serbian programmers, according to these emails, are communicating directly with the Chinese, and they ask, allegedly, I'll say, the Chinese to manipulate the product ID of the hardware, that they'll be mislabeled. They're communicating directly with Chinese individuals for Hewlett-Packard. They're going back and forth about the firmware of the machines. And you just heard Philip Davis explain why that is so troubling. He outlined how vulnerable that makes these voting machines. And he said, and my sources also say, that in and of itself makes it impossible to certify these voting machines. Again, this is just breaking in the last hour. I've not even had time to really go through these emails as much as I would like myself. So we will continue in depth on this breaking news by Sheriff Darleaf tomorrow. In the meantime, we'll take a commercial break, and when we come back, we'll talk more about what our Congress is doing to give the bad people immunity. That's after this break.
With everybody talking about making America healthy again, I thought today'd be a great day to talk to all my fellow patriots about the importance of making your homes healthy again. Well, we have proudly partnered with airwaterhealing.com and their revolutionary whole home air purification system. The V3 from Air Water Healing does 3,000 square feet of purification. It eliminates dust, mold, viruses, and odors. But here's the part I love. They require no filters to ever be changed and virtually no maintenance. Whether you suffer from asthma, allergies, seasonal bronchitis, or just want to protect your family from the flu or even greater threats, don't wait to get your V3 from airwaterhealing.com today. Use code Lindell for 20% off in savings and free shipping. That's promo code Lindell at airwaterhealing.com. Whether it's being a weekend warrior or spending time with your family, feeling your best is the key to doing the things you love. That's why I'm excited to tell you about Nirvanta. It's a natural solution designed to help you stay active and live well naturally. Nirvanta is a topical blend of all natural essential oils like frankincense, myrrh, and a proprietary gold standard plant stock extract. It's perfect for your hands, feet, knees, back, or anywhere else that needs a little extra care. Use Nirvanta proactively as part of your daily maintenance routine, and you're guaranteed you're going to feel the difference. Simply massage Nirvanta in for at least 60 seconds, 2 to 3 times a day to get the best results. And if you're not completely satisfied, you get your money back. No questions asked. There's simply no risk and no reason not to try Nirvanta today. Right now, you get 15% off with code Lindell exclusively at nirvantahealth.com. So stop reaching out for that medicine cabinet. Get Nirvanta instead and experience the difference. Go to nirvantahealth.com. Use code Lindell to get 15% off today. Nirvanta Health. Live well naturally.
Congress continues pressing forward with its plans to give immunity to large companies that produce and utilize on crops and other foodstuffs bad chemicals so they can never, ever be sued. I'm sure that's all right. It's not like there's ever been a case of a major American chemical company inadvertently poisoning anyone, right? And it's part of a larger trend, not only in Congress, but even within the Trump administration, to give more leniency to companies that have the potential to poison Americans with their products. Not long ago, Politico reported that President Trump was exempting chemical companies involved in critical ore production from being sued. Here's a House Appropriations Committee hearing in which they explain why they want to remove or reduce the warning labels on pesticides.
Pesticide labeling amendment. So just to explain this a little bit, the EPA sets the floor for how pesticides can be regulated. And then state and local governments can and should be able to inform residents of their states of potential health risks based on the latest science. Reasonable restrictions made for pesticide usage, such as limiting how close they can be sprayed to schools or playgrounds, or whether they can be sprayed in certain communities. This amendment are allowed because of this. So there's a floor. This allows communities and states to do a little bit more. This rider would preempt states from going beyond the current floor. It doesn't take chemicals away from farmers. It doesn't take away the opportunity to farm or to use these pesticides, and it doesn't change something that currently exists. This amendment does not take away pesticides. It just ensures that state and local governments can provide residents with up-to-date safety information. And it ensures that chemical companies can be held responsible for failing to provide relevant safety information.
I don't know. But I think this seems like a really bad idea. I don't know. Maybe I don't know. I'm just a girl from Appalachia, a coal miner's daughter. But here's Brianna Sogdow, a senior writer and research fellow at IATS Foundation, to explain to us what all of this does mean and why the Trump administration seems to be going along with this. You know, it really reminds me of how Trump backed the big pharma firms during Operation Warp Speed. And do not forget, he's now questioning that decision publicly. Joining us now is Brianna Sogdow. It's good to see you. So explain here, because it is a little bit complex, right? Exactly what's happening, Brianna, and where we stand today.
It is a very complex issue. Thank you so much for having me back on. You know, what it ultimately comes down to is the EPA is responsible for determining how pesticides are labeled and packaged. And the problem is, if the label and packaging does not have any type of a warning on it, that translates to essentially what happens in the courts. And at the state level, people have been successful by filing claims for failure to warn. So basically what's happening is something of a catch-22. And, you know, the specifics of it can most effectively be summed up as states' rights and constitutional rights versus administrative law. So you've got this legalese over here with the EPA. And if there's not a very specific label, there's not a very specific warning, basically what it translates down to at the state level is that Americans are not able to seek remedy in the courts when they've been harmed by a particular product. And at the end of the day, the states are trying to pass stricter rules because the EPA is effectively shielding itself and these large foreign-owned chemical manufacturing companies from liability. And, you know, and 507 is another rider that's in this appropriations bill. And 507 is a perfect example of why MAHA moms are so concerned about Section 453, which deals with the pesticide. And just very quickly, Emerald, 507 would prevent the EPA from using a risk assessment that Congress used our tax dollars to commission related to toxic sewer sludge sold as fertilizer or marketed by the EPA as fertilizer to farmers and sprayed on schoolyards, national forest, what have you. The report, you know, when evidence is so damning and Congress can just vote to suspend that evidence, we have very big problems. So even if, right, even with Section 453, regardless of what it does, if Congress has the opportunity or the ability to just say, hey, guess what, EPA, you don't get to use any of these health risk assessments, I would really question what the point of the EPA is to begin with. If it merely serves to protect big government and its foreign-owned multinational cronies. It's neither protecting the Environmental Protection Agency is neither protecting the environment at this point or the health and constitutional rights of American citizens. So honestly, both of these writers in this appropriations bill are kind of a boondoggle that tie into one another.
Of lots of money being thrown at this from the corporations?
Well, I think that there is. I think
I'm trying to understand why Trump and the Republicans are going along with it, you know?
Well, I don't know that the Trump administration is necessarily going along with this. There's a fact within Congress that is all for centralizing more control within the federal government and removing states' rights. And frankly, that's really antithetical to the Trump administration's platform in many respects. We've seen the Trump administration deregulating, decentralizing authority, sending the Department of Education back to the states, right? So the Trump administration has really stood strongly for returning states' rights. This is a different sort of group within the Republican Party, and it's kind of the old guard. And they believe very strongly in centralizing control under the federal government for streamlining and coordination. But the problem is that it removes local control.
But if the president had this flag for him and he understood what was going on, then he could be instrumental in stopping it. If it sounds like then they're not for this. If the Trump administration is not for this, his EPA administrator, Lee Zeldin, his USDA secretary, Brooke Rollins, they could get involved and say, look, you Republicans who are going rogue on this, there will be repercussions, yes?
Yes, that's true. And it would be really important for the Trump administration to do that at this point, because this appropriations bill is coming up for a vote here very soon. I think the bigger problem here that perhaps Republicans are not necessarily grasping beyond the health concerns that many of our farmers and ranchers are concerned about. There's a much broader push, and it's coming out of a faction on the other side of the aisle that is attempting to eviscerate private property rights. We have a certain gentleman running in New York, for example, who believes that home ownership is a form of white supremacy. And I'm not, I can't make this up. It's, in Twitter posts. The point being here is that if Republicans continue down this line and do not work to mitigate things like the forever chemicals that have been sprayed on our farmlands, or work to implement simple warnings at the state level for farmers and ranchers when they're using pesticides and herbicides, there's another side of the political divide that would use this to continue seizing farmlands, to continue seizing livestock, and to shut us down as American farmers and ranchers. And I think that is a much bigger concern, and I think certainly where we're coming at it from as farmers and ranchers in this country.
That's huge. We'll watch as this progresses and see if the president steps in. Thank you so much, Brianna, for bringing it to our attention. We'll follow this. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Hey, RFK, how many children did you kill today? Hey.
You guys think RFK?
How many children did you kill today?
You think RFK killed kids?
RFK is on his way of doing so. Yes, with the cuts to U.S. aid funding.
With the cuts to U.S. aid funding? What about the vaccines that are killing kids?
I'm not going to engage with you.
That was Allison Steinberg. That was our own Allison Steinberg. She's on the Hill right now where RFK Jr. is testifying in an explosive hearing, which they'll bring you on DC Live. That's next. That's it for me. That's the absolute truth.